do you feel about death? Oh, isn't that a great question to open up with? Hi, my name is Melissa Carter. I am the blogger at You Only Have Your Shelf to Blame, which is a book blog about the books that are authentically on my shelf. And I do believe that you are what you consume. So if you're one of those who is trying to figure out yourself better, then take a look at your bookshelf and see what you have on there that you spend your time reading. So I like to walk around my neighborhood when the weather is good, and I live in Atlanta, so majority of the year the weather is good to take walks, and that is when I listen to my audiobooks the most. And I find that it helps me better to focus off of what I'm trying to do physically if I read an audiobook or listen to an audiobook rather than listen to music. And so this book is what I'm listening to now. And if you are someone who has had a near-death experience, know somebody who has had a near-death experience, or are curious just about the mystery of death yourself, then After is the name of the new book by Dr. Bruce Greyson. And he is one of the leading doctors. He is a psychiatrist who has done a lot of the research into NDEs. He did not coin the phrase NDE or near-death experiences, but he was on the forefront with the great doctors that were there to help with this research. He explains his background in the book and some of the case studies. But you can tell in this book that he is not only writing this for the person who is just curious, he's also writing this for the medical community. It doesn't come across as a medical book, but there is a lot of scientific explanation. So I do believe scientists always have to make sure that they lay out what's proven to be true, the scientific experiments that have taken place. And so Dr. Greyson is not taking the idea of near-death experiences from the side of spirituality. He is talking about NDEs from the side of science and what science has actually done to study it. And so I had heard near-death experiences most of my life, not realizing that phrase was only coined a few decades ago. But I think in this book, one of the things that stood out for me in his scientific explanation, plus the case studies he had, is, I had a kidney transplant 19 years ago. And I can tell you that I did not have a near-death experience during my kidney transplant. I was very sick going into the transplant. I had suffered from kidney failure for several years before I got the transplant. And now reading this book, I realized, I wasn't as close to death as I thought because a lot of the stories that he talks about have taken place in the operating room, but also in accidents outside the operating room. But it seems that, the stories are for people who truly, obviously, are dying and had some kind of interaction with family members, interaction with beings that they couldn't define, feelings that were very positive in the experience, a sense of time lapse, similar stories throughout all of these case studies. And, he also explains the arguments against near-death experiences. He talks about how scientists think that some of it is just your chemistry in your brain and not anything that's physically or spiritually going on. But in this book, After, his argument is that there is enough evidence to suggest that we should open our minds to different things. So I'm telling you, and like I said, I'm talking about the book before I even finish it. It's the current book that I'm reading, but it is really fascinating and it makes you question your own beliefs. And it doesn't matter what religion you're a part of. It's just, even if you're atheist, he talks about an atheist that had a near-death experience in the book. So it's worth a read. Especially if you were someone who has experienced that. And if you have had an NDE or had a family member have an NDE, then what you need to do is have them read this book. I have a link down below where you can get a copy. But After by Bruce Greyson it's brand new here in 2021 as I'm recording this, and it is something that is worth a read. So if you have had a near-death experience, share it in the comments below. Even if you're a critic of near-death experiences, you can share that in the comments below. And any book other than this one that you found to be useful when it comes to NDEs. Thank you so much for watching. Again, Melissa Carter, and I have the blog YouOnlyHaveYourShelfToBlame.com. I'd love for you to check it out anytime, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.